Hello and welcome to The Film Angle. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kris.
And today we're going to be catching up with each other again. We've got a whole other bunch of films that we've been watching over the past week. Kris, I believe you've been watching a bit more than me. You've been a bit unwell recently, is that right?
Oh yeah, I was the weekend. I started with the sniffles. It turned into sore throat, and then I felt like I was just drunk for a whole weekend. I couldn't even stand up. I just had to stay in. I went to work for an hour on Monday. I came right back and stayed in bed, and I naturally watched about 4 movies that day. So I've had a lot of free time to catch up, guilt-free time to catch up on movies.
That's good, that's good. And not the Rona, I hear. Not the Rona.
No, tested twice. All good in that front.
Well, that's good to know, and good that you're feeling better now.
Thanks,
Uh,
Alex. I'm really glad that you feel for me, and I'm sure you were thinking about me all day. That's really
I
kind.
was. But you made it to the cinema before you got ill, right?
Yeah, I mean, if all else, I mean, forget any funerals or birthdays that I was due to turn up. As long as I got to go to the cinema there, I was happy. You know,
That's good. That's good. You know, I haven't got a cinema trip planned in at the moment, and I was thinking earlier today. I was just like, what is coming out that's worth seeing in the cinema? I think The Worst Person in the World is about to come out, or at least by the time of this recording, it will be out.
yeah,
And I really want to see that one, but I'm not sure Plymouth is getting a lot of showings of it down there. Am I right in
we're not
thinking
getting
that?
any showings. Yeah, it's supposed to be. We're by the time of this recording, um, it's due to be released tomorrow, and we've got no screens showing it. So that sucks. Obviously, you living in Bristol, I'm sure you probably have a few venues showing it.
Well, we have one of the best art cinemas in the world in the watershed. Plymouth, sort your art cinemas out. Come on, like
I know. I
you
mean,
should be showing Worst Person in the World. I don't understand.
I don't know if there's just like a lack of interest in the Southwest. Like, I don't know. I mean, up that way, you got a lot more interest. I mean, you guys really do have one of the best little cinemas I've ever been to. I mean, I think even Mark Kermode on his podcast plugged it a while back. I mean, it's great, a great place.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, I'd love to do a like that. That would have made a good next episode. But yeah, it's a shame that screenings are limited to certain areas in the country at the moment.
Only to
But
the elite.
yes, yeah, we'll have to catch up on it together when it drops on movie later in the year. But yeah, I was trying to think. I know you saw X in the cinema,
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that in a minute.
which I was really
Um,
surprised got a lot of showing times over the
r-
weekend. I mean, it was like one of the most had one of the most screens in the whole in all the multiplexes, which is strange, and nobody went to see it. But we had a lot of fun watching it.
we're the only people in the cinema.
No, a lot of pervy guys by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren was the only woman there.
Oh god. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I can see why. I can see why that might be. I can see why that might be. Any other cinema trips you planning? I'm trying to
I
think
don't know.
I'm trying to think
This
what's
week,
coming out in April.
this weekend's a bit dry. I'm actually kind of interested for the distraction and nostalgia of these type of movies, but I'm really excited to watch The Lost City. I think it's out in a couple of weeks with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock. The
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be like it's gonna you know what it is, but I'm looking forward to that kind of movie. I feels like a pre-pandemic sort of thing that I don't think we really got much of in the last 2 years. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice. And also, by the time this episode drops, we also have the Oscars. So I guess we should say
The Oscars.
a predictable congratulations to Power of the Dog,
Uh,
maybe?
I don't know. I have a feeling like they're going to spread the wealth a little bit here
Well, why? Who do you think is going to
because
win?
there's just so many dynamic choices. Um, the momentum just keeps shifting all the time. We can all make it becomes a year of the bias, really, where pick the movie you liked and hopefully it'll win, because I can't really see where it's going at the minute. I obviously Part of the Dog has most nominations. It's got the momentum behind it that way, but it's a weird movie. That's the only thing. It's not classic Academy winner.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Yes, but you got to pretend we've watched it. So yeah, congratulations to
Oh yeah. Congratulations to King Richard. King Richard, well done, King Richard. You did really well.
congratulations to Chris's favorite film of 2021, Don't Look Up.
Oh, congratulations to Clifford the Big Red Dog, Best Picture winner.
That's a surprise. Wasn't even nominated, but got the most
John
votes.
Cleese for Best Supporting Actor. Do you know John Cleese is in that movie?
I feel like somewhere in the back of my mind I knew.
Yeah, that's pretty. He's in a rough spot in his career right now. I feel.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
And
Anyway,
Jack Whitehall doing an American accent exactly how it sounds like in your head.
yeah, I kind of want to watch it just to experience that. Really.
Although I haven't seen him in Jungle Cruise. Does he do an American accent in that one too?
No, no.
Is he like a British dandy? Is he kind of like a Jonathan in the Mummy sort of character?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Pretty
Okay.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
I
was one of
think
the two.
exactly, exactly. Anyway, you touched on it briefly. I haven't seen X, but go on, sell me on the film. I think you were a fan, right?
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved it. It's made by Ty West. He's got pretty big roots in the horror genre. It was awesome. It was everything I thought I really wanted it to be. Basically, it's about a group of young people in 1979 who go to a farm in Texas. It's run by this really weird, gross elderly couple um, who run the farm, and we get the impression that they're very prudish. We see in the background in the living room that there's an evangelical television shows going on in the background. And the intention of this young group that are coming in to stay at their ranch is that they are going to shoot a porn movie. So it's really to capitalize on the booming home video market that was really prevalent in that era of TV and film. But quickly they find themselves in a lot of trouble when the old couple catches them in the act. And I won't spoil anything for you from there, Alex, but it really becomes both equal parts disturbing and fun. And we had a really good time with this one.
Nice. It looked very Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Oh
kind of
yeah.
vibes from the trailer. Am I right in thinking that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's really exciting as well because it's something it's very clever and that it's tipping its hat to the era of those 1970s, exploitative films. And like I said, it even looks like one. I mean, from the opening shot, you really feel like you are watching a movie that was made 40 plus years ago. It's very reminiscent of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. And it feels as vital as that movie did as well. Like, I just needed a really good cathartically nasty little movie like X, and it delivered all the goods. Really, really good.
Nice, nice. Well, yeah, I definitely want to catch that one. I didn't have time to see it this weekend.
Yeah, and if you do catch it, one of the best post-credit scenes in recent memory. Very interesting.
What's a post-credit scene?
A post-credit scene.
Does Samuel Jackson turn up and invite the crew to join the Avengers or something? Are we gonna get an A24 shared universe? Is that where we're heading?
Well, it's more directly linked to the contained world of this film, but it would mean nothing to you unless you've seen it. But if you have,
Gotcha.
it's really exciting.
Interesting. Wow, good to know because I wouldn't usually stay for the credits of a film unless it's done by Marvel or some kind of superhero blockbuster these days.
Well, what did you catch up on? Is there anything really recent, like really big things? Did you manage to make it to the cinema in the last weekend? But you said you feel like you haven't really warranted a cinema trip recently.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't get around to the cinema. My film watching has all been stuck to streaming. I was out at a gig of the weekend and stuff like that, so we didn't really have the time to go to the cinema before that. But Friday night, I did catch up with Deep Water,
Oh yeah,
the kind of well advertised as an erotic thriller with Ben Affleck and Anna de Armas, which is streaming on Amazon Prime at the moment, and I know you were able to give that one a watch as well.
it's
I kind of love Ben Affleck in like a weird way. I find him a fascinating person in whatever he's in, and here he plays like one half of a couple that's in a kind of open relationship, but it
mhm,
feels
yeah,
very much like Anna de Armas has set the rules of this relationship, and Ben Affleck's just going along with it, and he doesn't really want to be in an open relationship. It's very interesting, quite toxic, and it creates a very kind of unique and uncomfortable to watch relationship between the two as things get darker in the story.
Yeah, it works better in its first act because you're sort of off footing because you kind of come into this relationship halfway and you're like you don't really know what the dynamics are yet, but which makes it kind of exciting at the start. But when you kind of do realize that he is just like soliciting her behavior, well, reluctantly, and that he is just he's a bit of a cuck. The movie then kind of descends into drab and repetitive cycles, and I really was checking my flipping watching this on my deathbed. First thing I watched on my deathbed the other day.
Uh, yeah, I can see that it's a very slow paced film for the most part, and it's it's very interesting because, like you said, it drops you into their relationship. You're not really sure what the rules are. It never really explicitly says them. It never really says them at all. But there's this underlying kind of darker streak, and you wonder where the film's going to go. Like Ben Affleck tells one of the kind of lovers of Anna de Armas that he killed her past lover and stuff like this, but you're not sure if he's joking or not. And the
Yeah.
film plays it off as if he isn't, and then it starts to get a little bit darker as the film goes on, and then it kind of delves into absurdity in the third act. Um,
Yeah,
and
the third act is absolutely bonkers. I loved,
it's I
you know what? That my 2.5 stars went to the third act.
It's I honestly, I had so much fun. Like once I just started laughing, I was like, "This film is brilliant!" Like I am having a hilarious time. I'm not sure it was intentional on their part, but oh my god! I
No.
mean, I lost it. There's a scene where Anna de Armas has brought one of her kind of lovers home. She does this a lot where she invites them around for tea and Ben Affleck
Yeah.
cooks for them, and they always like play this like, "Oh, it's so cool, man, that you have an open relationship. Like, I'm just gonna try hang out with you," and he doesn't want anything to do with it. And under the like in the basement of the house, he keeps like hundreds of snails. Like he's big into like keeping snails, and they're like, "Why don't we eat some snails for tea?" And you see Ben Affleck like,
Yeah.
"They're not for eating," and then they're like, "Go on, let's just you're not gonna miss a few snails. Let's go get some snails and eat them." And I was like, "This is hilarious. What is going on right now? This is absurd." Like like Ben Affleck literally might kill some guy for eating his snails. Like I just don't.
Oh.
It was weird. It was weird, and interesting to see Sam Levinson's name pop up in the credits from
Oh
Euphoria
yeah.
fame. I think I wasn't expecting that, but it kind of makes sense. He's very much a style over substance person. I think there was maybe a bit of that going on throughout throughout the film.
Where was the style? The movie was like just a grey blob though, like visually and color wise. I mean, it was like sucked of color.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Maybe I'd take that back. I just thought it was interesting that.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I do agree. I think maybe just seeing people like Jacob Elordi turn up, um, kind of kind of gave me Euphoria vibes.
Yeah.
But obviously, he wasn't directing it, and he had nothing to do with the cinematography. But yeah, he's a bit of an interesting writer when it comes to sexual themes, which there's a lot going on here.
Not as much. No, it wasn't as much going on there as I thought it was going to be. I think the first act had a lot of promise of it being like an erotic thriller, and then it kind of just, like I said, it kind of gets a bit. It
Like
loses that a little bit.
yeah, it's like there's more sex than most films, but like none of it's sexy, and it's not really that thrilling. So like to call it an erotic thriller is maybe a bit much. You don't go in expecting to be kind of
It's
excited by this film.
it's crazy that like Adrian Lynn, this is the project that gets him back on board. I mean, it's what 20 years since he's made a movie. Like 2000, I think it was 2001 or 2002 was his last movie, and he's obviously, like I say, he's very famous for doing movies like Flashdance, Fatal Attraction, or Jacob's Ladder, like those sort of movies. So this is really in his wheelhouse. But suffice to say, the guy hasn't like directed maybe in 20 years, and Hiatus isn't really overly that complicated. I don't think. When I was looking into it, Lynn said he just wanted to spend some time in France, enjoy his lifestyle that he had accumulated from making all these movies, and he just came back into out of, I don't know, boredom. There wasn't really, he didn't really give it a reason. It's quite hard to find it on the internet. But yeah, it's a strange movie. I mean, it was scheduled, I think, originally to release in November 2020, but
Yeah.
got delayed to August 2021. Then again in
Wasn't it
December
Fox? It was like
20. Yeah, it was
yeah, and then
20th Century
Disney
Fox.
take
Yeah,
over. Disney didn't know what to do with it because it's a bit full on for Disney, I guess.
yeah. It seemed like nobody wanted to touch this thing with a barge pole. And then, like you said, all of a sudden, Disney, Hulu buy the rights, and yeah, here we are talking about it now. Yeah, maybe I can't tell if I like it or not. It's just a third act. I think the car chase scene is probably 5 stars by itself.
Yeah, I think I had fun with it by the end, and that's maybe why I kind
Yeah,
of put it in higher regard. But yeah, I mean, it's not a great film, but there's
yeah.
there's some fun to be had if you kind of just give up on trying to take it seriously.
Like I say, I just recommend people like, just to fast forward to the car chase scene at the end. Well, actually, it's not really a car chase scene; it's more of a push bike versus car. where it's like it's like a pursuit that goes on for about 2 minutes. Tracy Letts is like driving this thing at like 50 miles an hour. Yeah, Affleck is on a push bike, hot in his tail, and applying so much pressure that it causes Tracy Letts to drive into a gorge and die.
Spoilers.
But yeah, it's that's worth the admission price by itself.
Yeah, to be honest, if you'd told me that at the start, I would have been really gearing up to watch the film. So, yeah, it is. It's an interesting
Oh,
final act, and Ben Affleck's good, and Anna de Armas is great, and like you compare her character here to say Knives Out, and she's completely two different characters. And I know, like,
yeah.
maybe I just sound stupid right now because that is what acting is, but I think it shows that she's got a lot of range, and I'm excited to see more films from her. I've only seen a few now, a handful of films with her in, but I think she's a rising star in Hollywood, isn't she?
No, she's great. It's kind of maybe mostly similar to, I don't know if you saw the Keanu Reeves movie that she was in, Knock Knock.
I have not.
It's an Eli Roth movie where it's two women come across this married guy's house, and they ask him for, like, they're coming out the rain, can we come out the rain and use your telephone, and then they end up like seducing him and like
I remember
taking.
I remember seeing it when not seeing it, but I remember seeing trailers for it and stuff like that. But I did not know that was Anna de Armas. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah. I was pretty early in her Hollywood career. I mean, she's came a long way. I think Blade Runner did really big favors for her, and Knives Out, and yeah, I think we're going to see a lot from her. Obviously, we got the big Marilyn Monroe biopic that's coming up soon, and I think people are
Yes,
really excited about that.
yeah,
Interesting.
which is also going to be quite a sexually charged film from all accounts that I've heard. That Netflix didn't even know if they wanted it. If the rumors are to be believed, they kind of told the director, "This is a bit much, mate." Is what I heard.
Wow. Yeah, I saw sort of a headline that kind of mentioned its 15R rating. So yeah, I'm pretty interested to see how far that goes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
No, Alex, you know that I've been trying my hardest for the last year or so to get into Nerd Alert Star Trek.
Yes, it's an interesting venture of yours.
Well, I just feel like there's so much love out there for this series, and I just didn't get it as a kid. I fundamentally didn't get it, and I feel so fucking stupid and could scream at my younger self. Like, anytime my dad would put Star Trek on TV, whether it was a movie or an episode, it was going on in the living room. I just didn't want anything to do with it. I was just like bored out of my life. But it was just like a bunch of weird old people in space pajamas talking to each other to me. But anyways, I took it upon myself to watch the entirety of the original series. Dug it pretty instantly, and that progressed onto me watching the Next Gen series with Patrick Stewart, of which I'm over halfway through now the show of. So now it seemed like a good time as ever to start getting into the movies. And like I said, when I was on my deathbed, I managed to catch up with the first four.
Whew.
And yeah, that was not a waste of time. It was great. I was some of the
Nerd.
best. No, it was some of the best movie watching I've had in quite some time. It was blissful.
Okay, okay. You say like now was the right time to watch some of the films. Are the films separate to the TV show, or do they work in continuity with the TV show?
Right. So they can be viewed as their own separate entity. They're not attached to any plot thread line of a TV show. But I think obviously with like anything, it helps for emotional investment if you know the characters.
Yeah.
You know what they've been through. They got baggage. That goes a long way. But yeah, I just I think the whole time I was watching them, I was like, I feel so mad that Alex has not had the pleasure of getting into the series because he should be sharing this discovery with me because it would be so much fun. You would really dig William Shatner. Like the ego that guy has just oozes on screen in like the most hilarious and also I'm actually going to say occasionally profound ways. He can turn it on whenever he wants to. Um, During these like four films, we get like right in space of four movies, we get intergalactic cat and mouse games. We get William Shatner yelling "Khan." We get
Oh, infamously, right?
infamously, yeah. Even if you haven't seen Star Trek, you know that line. Christopher Lloyd plays an evil Klingon, and the crew have to travel back in one of the movies to 1986 to find and bring back two humpback whales back to the year 2286 in a last effort to save Earth. That is literally one of the plots of one of the movies. It is awesome.
That does sound. You know, I was not on board. Like you said, I could watch the films without the TV show. Now, that's the thing. The TV show that is quite something to take on, and I'm
Yeah,
not ready to take on the TV show yet. I've dipped like we've all seen the odd Star Trek episode. Like I've dipped in and out before. I couldn't tell you the names of anyone.
yeah,
I started Discovery a little while ago and got into that, but didn't carry it on
yeah. I mean,
just for
I think
time reasons. But you know, I've always been a Star Wars kid, and there's always been that rivalry there between Star Wars and Star Trek, even though they are fundamentally different. But
yeah.
the films sound interesting. I've definitely watched one of them, but I've not watched. It's definitely one with Patrick Stewart, so I've not seen like Wrath of Khan or anything like that.
Yeah, I think if you're going to try any of them, definitely try Wrath of Khan because it's just like a perfect. It's like a submarine naval battle movie in space that's just really well done. It's kind of shot on a budget. It's got Ricardo Montalban as probably one of the best villain performances. It's still an underrated performance to this day. The movie is right up your alley, man. Man, you got to catch up with it. But I'm ashamed that you haven't allocated 2,000 plus hours to watching all the TV shows. I mean, how dare you? I mean, like that seems like a completely rational thing to do.
Yeah, you've not sold me on that one. I mean, last week you sold me on starting the Universal Monsters. So I've been actually looking as like up where I can find some of those and what ways, what chronological order to watch them in and stuff like that. Like you sold me on that. You've not sold me on starting Star Trek, at least
Hey,
not the TV show.
you're
Um,
still young. There's still time. There's time for me to convert you.
yeah, I might have to wait till I retire to start from the start on that one.
But then Star Trek will already be on its 50th show by then. You'll have no chance then.
We'll see. We'll see. Anything to please you, mate.
Oh, thanks. Well, I kind of deviated there by going to Star Trek. I mean, I think it would have been probably more natural to talk about the other film I caught up with. I think you caught up with it too, which is the other big streaming movie of last week, Fresh.
Yes, yeah, Disney Plus, Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan, who is really kind of the man of the moment right now. He's obviously been playing the
Yeah,
Winter Soldier in the Marvel films for a little while now. He's done the odd film here and there, but he just came off the Pam and Tommy TV show, and now he's in Fresh. And I must say, between Pam and Tommy in this film, I was like, they are severely underusing him in the MCU. He
yeah.
is. he has got some acting chops, and he is excellent,
It's the
excellent.
energy, isn't it? The energy that he brings on screen is great. I mean, obviously the Winter Soldier, just the nature of that role, he has to be a bit more subdued, which sucks because like you should really let this guy just go off the reins.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think maybe if I was the producers, I'd be watching these films and going like, shit, we need to give this guy more to do because he is very good and clearly, riding high off of these performances at the moment. Next to him as well in the film, we have Daisy Edgar Jones, who is the kind of main character.
Yeah,
Um, do you want to spoil this film, Chris? Like, should we
it's
spoil
really
it?
hard. It's really hard. You know what? It's the one time I feel like I want to break the rule, where I feel you saw this before me, and I said what like we were having a conversation about it, and I said, what do you think about it? You said it was great. Make sure that you don't read anything up about it
Yeah.
before
I'm
because
almost disappointed I even watched the trailer. I mean, I probably wouldn't have even noticed that it dropped. It kind of dropped with
yeah,
little to no fanfare. So in a way, happy to have had it be put on my radar from the trailer. But the film really sets itself up as something different, and then completely changes into a bit of a genre film by the end of
yeah,
it. If you haven't seen it, pause this podcast, go watch it, go in blind, and then come back because I think this is a difficult film to talk about without saying
of course it is.
the big word that, for some people might be the selling point. So you've been warned. Three, two, one. Cannibalism. The film's about cannibalism,
Yeah,
even though it sets itself up as a rom com
yeah.
for the
The
first
first
30 minutes.
the first 30 minutes, and then the title credits come on. Brave
Yes.
move, and the whole tone shifts in an instant. It is a really great pull the rug underneath you move. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because even though it pulls the rug under you, for the most part, Sebastian Stan, who is kidnapping girls and chopping them up and selling their body parts to people who engage in cannibalism, um, he
Yeah, like
still he
Rich.
still plays it as a bit of a rom com. Like he still plays it as like the lovesick kind of guy who just wants to get to know you.
Yeah,
But he's just got like a dark side. He's a bad boy, Chris.
yeah. It's like even after committing horrendous acts, and you see even to various characters, he still plays very likable and very I think the word is charismatic. I think the charisma that he projects to her, to get her on board and selling him as a potential like future boyfriend or lover or whatever,
Yeah.
carries throughout the movie. That is the part of him that actually probably is genuine. That he exudes this charisma, and he's just got like he's got a really fucked up side of him that he just is naturally accepted and can seem to live with.
Yeah, yeah. And, like we mentioned, Daisy Edgar Jones plays opposite him. She's the girl who, falls in love and then ends up getting kidnapped and
Yeah.
has to fight her way out of this underground prison cell which she's caught up in, and she does this through, trying to reconnect with Sebastian Stan, trying to pretend that she's still in love with him, also like playing on his lovesick puppy nature.
Whilst
Um,
also having to eat his meals that he
yes,
prepares for
yes,
her, which is really quite hard to watch.
yeah. Even though, like, yeah, so they present these meals
Yeah.
as like, oh, here's a steak and here's a meatball, but they're talking about it being like the flesh of a human, and it's
Yeah.
really quite uncomfortable to watch. It really sets up a horrible image in your mind.
The sound as well. It's like there's a lot of like squishy noises in this movie, like those sort of like really weird noises whenever you get like a where it just the mic is right up next to the food, and it just kind of makes it too intimate when you're watching it. It's like staring you right in the face as if you're her, like being faced to this meal. Like you can see, like I can see. I'm not an idiot. I'm watching the screen, and I know that thing's just like a giant meatball, but like even though the movie just does a good job at selling you the fact that you're seeing something you shouldn't be seeing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, really good, fresh. Really enjoyed it. Feels like it's very heavily inspired by Get Out. The director's called Mimi Cave. It's her first film.
Yeah,
What an excellent first film as a debut feature. Like,
yeah, she's done a couple of short films, but I think that's it.
yeah, so very interested to see what she does next. Yeah, this is excellent. Talking about messed up films, Chris. I
Oh
know
no.
you caught. I think you caught up with this a couple of weeks ago. But it finally dropped on Mubi. And that's Julia Ducournau's latest film, Titane, which is a bit of a weird one. I was a huge fan of her first film, Raw. I'm pretty sure I lent that to you back in our Toys R Us days.
Yeah, I think you lent it to me because that at the time that was like a over here in the UK we have HMV is our kind of our primary place where you buy media, and I think I was an HMV exclusive at the time, wasn't it?
Yes,
So
yeah,
you couldn't get it anywhere else on physical medium. So you lent it to me very graciously, and I watched it, and it's probably one of the best horror movies of the last decade. It's an incredible debut as a filmmaker.
yeah, and it's like but portrayed as a very much coming of age film with somebody who has an appetite
Yeah,
for human flesh.
yeah,
There's a bit of a theme with this podcast.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. We Star Trek, cannibalism, and yeah, and killer women.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But Raw is excellent, absolutely excellent. Titan is, in my mind, wasn't as good, but I did still really enjoy it, and
Yeah.
it just kind of solidified the fact that Julia Ducournau is a director to watch. It's
It
such
also
a
solidified the fact that she's got one messed up mind.
oh yeah, yeah, and completely loves making the audience feel uncomfortable. Loves engaging in just like very simple body horror. I mean, it's not always simple in Titan. Uh, like we'll go into this as well. Like, somebody has sex with a car and has a car baby. So there's it's not always simple body horror, but there's a scene at the very start of the film where somebody gets their hair trapped in somebody's nipple piercing, and it's like
Oh, oh,
disgusting to watch. Like, just it, everything feels painful.
yeah, because nothing is shied away from you. You're there from it, and you don't get the ability to wince away. It's like watching a car crash. It's like you don't want to look at it. You can't stop. It's just like the magnetism of the screen, but it's something you should not be watching. It's just too viscerally done, and she works really well at the plot. It's really Cronenbergian.
Yes,
This movie.
yeah, 100%.
I would say the worst. There's so many graphic moments in this movie, but I'd say the bit that got me the worst is the bit where she broke her nose on the sink, where she headbutts the sink, and I'm like, oh, I hate anything to do with like bones or noses or anything like that, and that freaked me out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It
but yeah,
looks proper nasty as well.
it is
She
nasty.
doesn't shy away from, like, it's quite a nasty film, and I think maybe that's where I was not as in love with it as I was with Raw. Raw felt like it kind of had a little bit more to say, and even though it was quite horrible to watch at times, it didn't feel like nihilistic. Whereas this feels very much nasty, horrible energy. Like it's got serial killers and car babies and just
It's a lot
it's
more.
quite a difficult to watch film.
It is difficult to watch, and I think it's really hard to sympathize with the character who is a murderer. I mean,
Yeah.
we are introduced to her, and pretty quickly we realize that she's a serial killer. I mean, she even kills. We understand that she's a bit estranged to her parents, but that leads to her murdering them, like burning the house down. It's like these very broad, abstract, provocative ways of showing this what this character is going through. And yeah, I think it's there are layers going on there where we're trying to say, right, this person feels this way, but we're just going in such an extreme way that it's really hard to feel sorry for her at any moment. But yeah, the ending still really worked for me. I think it kind of does hit a beat at the end that I found worked. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if most people just really like don't get on with this movie. It's really something for people who really like their cinema and they can't miss um a big release like this. But I would say the casual viewer probably stay away. It's not going to be your cup of
Yeah,
tea.
yeah. And you mentioned the end. I did also see it. You've got such a horrible character. It is almost like a rebirth for her,
Yeah,
in this horrible way. And obviously she kills any situation that is slightly complicated. She kills that person, and by the end, she gets herself in a completely complex and complicated situation. But she can't overpower that person to kill them, and she kind of succumbs to their kind of compassion and love, even though it's quite a difficult and different love. It's a father who mourns for his son, and she has taken that place, and he knows that she's lying about A, being a man, and B, having any kind of relation to the son.
yeah.
But he kind of he accepts the delusion. And she kind of, she doesn't end up killing this guy.
I think he recognizes in the moment um that she is equally as vulnerable and sort of tainted as he is. So he can. That's what kind of gives him the reason to kind of. They kind of find that in each other that they're both as messed up as each other, really, and they both got as much hang-ups, and who else is going to accept them but each other?
Weird film. Weird film. But definitely hope there's not as much of a gap in
Yeah,
between the next film from
I think
Corner.
Decarno can afford to do a rom com next.
Yeah, do something different. Take it easy. Just do something nice and light and sweet.
Yeah,
Though to be fair, I wouldn't want that from her. Keep doing what you're doing. I will be ready to watch it because fascinating two films so far. And Raw is still up there. I think it's one of the best films of this century. Yeah, I think it's excellent. So if you're going to take anything away from listening to us talk about Titane and thinking
yeah.
maybe Titane's not for me, but I highly recommend Raw.
Yeah, well, you know what's going to happen now. If anybody's listening to this and they have watched both of those movies, they're going to end up watching Titan first and and yelling at us how bad we were for pointing them in that direction.
Yeah, skip Titane and do a cannibalism double bill of
Yeah,
Fresh and Raw,
no, guys.
both very aptly named.
No, no. What they should take away from this, Alex, is they should go straight to Star Trek 4 and get rescuing them whales, baby.
Uh, I kind of want to watch the whale one. Can I skip to Star Trek 4? That does sound interesting.
You'd love it because out of all the movies, it's the one that's flat out a comedy.
Oh, okay.
So the whole joke of the movie is what if Captain Kirk, Spock, and the crew were in 1986 San Francisco and didn't know how to use a payphone, went to like order pizza, and yeah, Spock wears a headband to hide his eyebrows and ears so nobody knows that he's Vulcan. It's
Okay.
that sort of movie.
And
It's
it's
really
played
good.
it's played for laughs, like they
Oh
know
yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
it's an intention. It's like a John Hughes movie.
Interesting.
It is so.
Interesting.
It's a bizarre choice for a fourth installment of a major blockbuster franchise, but it is absolutely incredible. It's a charming movie.
It kind of makes you like wonder whether um when Lord and Miller were doing the Han Solo film, um, whether that was the vibe they were going for. It's one of those films where
Yeah,
I would love to have seen their take, because I've got a feeling they were going to turn Star Wars into a
yeah,
straight up comedy,
yeah. That'd
and
be great. I mean,
I would have loved to have seen just a different vibe in that world. It's a shame maybe more films don't take that risk sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. You get like Captain Kirk and Spock ride a bus um throughout the city of San Francisco, and there's this like typical like you would in a John Hughes movie. You get this punk, this rocker punk sitting in an opposite. He's got a stereo blasting out loud with this punk music, and Captain Kirk just keeps telling him to turn it off. Can you please turn that noise off? and then he ends up punching him in the face, and everybody in the bus cheers for Captain Kirk. It's great.
Oh god! Oh man, you are. Do you know what? I might just watch the films. This does sound great. This does sound great.
Well, I think that pretty much puts a pin in it for today, Alex. I mean, I'm pretty exhausted. I'm still recovering from that being in my like I said, in my deathbed
And
earlier
I'm
this
trying
week.
to fight off this one that
Yeah,
I've got.
I've
Incoming.
transitioned from deathbed, and I'm now on my death wheels.
That's good.
So soon I'll be death. I will be post death walking. So
Nice.
yeah, we're getting there.
Well, Chris, it's been good catching up with you, and we'll have to do this again next week as
Oh,
always.
do I have to? I mean, I've had enough of you today already.
And we'll talk definitely about the Oscar results. I don't not a full episode. I think we found that out from our second ever episode that maybe the Oscars is quite a broad subject that you can't.
It's
It
too
goes on a
broad.
bit. It goes on a bit.
Yeah,
But I'm sure we'll have some thoughts on Power of the Dog winning, maybe, or who knows? Maybe it was Coda. You guys know.
I'm
But
really
we do
looking
not yet
forward
know.
to Clifford the Big Red Dog winning Best Cinematography and Editing.
Get off the cliff of the red dog thing, man. It's not funny.
Okay, well, I don't. I have no idea what's going to win, but I'm really eager. Probably we've all. I don't know about you. I think we mentioned this. We do the ballots in our house, so everybody has a picks who they think is going to win. And even though I'm the one who's seen every nominee on the Best Picture list, I bet you everything in my power that I am going to get the least ones correct this year. It just feels like I've already resigned to the fact that it's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll have to compare and contrast, and we'll definitely spend a little bit of time next episode just talking about
Yeah.
that. But
But
yeah,
for now, Alex has to go back in his cage and sleep until next week's episode.
yep, that's absolutely correct. That is all I do. I stay in this room, I turn off the lights, and I hang upside down like a bat.
The Batman episode was the other week, man. We're done with that.
Vengeance!
I'm not. We're not doing the bit anymore, Alex. No one wants to hear it.
Vengeance!
Well, that's it for now, guys. Thank you for listening to The Film Angle. My name is Chris.
World's greatest detectives!
And that's Alex.
Goodbye.